we've both noticed recently that young people seem to be less attractive, for want of a better term.
You mean they're fucking ugly?
Yeah. And you've got a theory as to why, haven't you? I mean, put the tinfoil hat away first, but
Well, no, I put the tinfoil hat firmly on for this. The kids are hideous nowadays because their dentition, their teeth don't develop properly because they eat brown and they're not chewing on rough hard foods like vegetables and things, specifically vegetables, but also meats. And that obviously, I read a book about this because I was fascinated as to why ancient skulls of humans don't have teeth problems. They've got
they're straight and
yeah, they might be missing
healthy.
some teeth, and you do get things like cavities and damage to them and things,
Mm.
but as a rule of thumb, like most of the skulls that we have, the teeth are relatively
Straight.
good order,
Yeah.
aren't they? I was like, well, why is that? And I was reading that it's to do with the diets that they eat, and they were eating rough diets, hard with lots of hard foods. I'd say vegetables and meats and things, and obviously kids now aren't eating that. The other thing that further contributes to that, this ugliness, is the weak chins that we see. And
Mm.
they have the smushed up face look because the powerful muscles of the jaw don't develop
Yeah.
when all you're eating is, um, I don't know,
Brown.
potato croquettes and turkey fucking dinosaurs.
Mm.
So yeah, that's why. So if you don't want your kids to be ugly, feed them properly because then their teeth develop. I had a classic '90s brown diet. My dentition was terrible. I had real crowding in my mouth. My palate didn't open up properly. I had what is it? Is it an overbite or an underbite where the chin's really far back?
Underbite, receding
No,
jaw.
I had a
Yeah.
really receding jaw, and I had to have the most horrendous braces procedure. I had to have these big plastic bricks in my mouth to like bring my jaw forward and split my jaw open as well, like a key. I had to tighten it every week to open the top brace, and it would spread my palate. And I had to have teeth removed as well because I had two sets of my baby canines just wouldn't fall out. So they were I had because
Mm.
again just and that I'm convinced because there's no history of bad teeth in my family. My parents' teeth are well, they've got lots of fillings because they eat shit, but like there
Not
was
as
not
dense.
as awful as
Mm.
mine was, and certainly my grandparents had no issues with their teeth either side. So it was very much a dietary thing. I'm convinced anyway. Obviously, I'm not a dentist.
And it's something about the sheer force of your teeth pushing together and chewing on hard things that almost pushes your teeth back into your jaw, isn't it? That keeps them straight.
I don't know the details of the mechanics of it. All I know is I read a book on it about 4 years ago, and that the reason it's all diet is very important for the proper development of teeth, basically, and the position of them in the mouth and so
And
on and such as, and therefore
and then you can attribute obviously you've got weak jaw, bad teeth, overweight faces,
oh,
bad skin.
well, yeah, well, and some of that's the hormonal stuff. Like, obviously, all the women peeing the contraceptive pill into the water, and that's kind of causing all sorts of doolally with the hormones.
Yeah, because we're seeing young girls kind of 10 to 12 looking 18 to
Hmm.
20 and 10 to 12-year-old boys looking
Yeah,
7
well,
or 8.
yeah, there's that. I mean, there is that. And what I find is that being fat androgenizes
Yeah.
people. So you get boys that look like girls and girls that look like boys. I mean, the development of the girls, like in the physical sense, I think is. Didn't you tell me once that there's something to do with body weight is when periods start,
Yeah.
certain body weights and things. So obviously, if they're fatter because they're heavier and eating more, then that's going to happen.
They're going to
You
trigger
know.
their puberty earlier.
Yeah, and then obviously the boys are very low testosterone because they don't exercise.
Mm.
They maybe at school get an hour of PE a week tops, and even the sort of PE that they do is not challenging or robust. They're not playing rugby and hockey and football and
Mm.
things. They're kind of doing weird racket games and at most and bit of running maybe. They don't really do that anymore, do they? There's no resistance training. I remember when I
No.
was at school even, it was this big deal. Like when you're in year 11, they had a gym at my school. It was above the school hall
Hmm.
in a little room. I had some resistance machines in there. I went in there twice. And as a young man, that's what you need.
Yeah.
Resistance training. And they had multi gym in there. They had some dumbbells. Yeah, I went in there twice in
Mm.
5 years. And even then, you're only allowed to go in year 11. And
Oh.
Yeah, it was terrible. It's absolutely terrible. So the boys don't develop. The girls overdevelop. And then obviously, as I say, all the stuff spinning around in the water and the food, it's not good.
No. And then these fat kids become fat adults and don't have the skills to deal with it, so go on to fat jabs.
Oh, fat jabs. Yes, fat jabs. Now, I understand there's a clinical case for them. In certain contexts, there is a case. There's absolutely. I'm not. Firstly, I'm not a doctor. Just like I'm not a dentist, I'm also not a doctor. And I'm a long retired medical professional. I was a paramedic, and I've not done that for like 10 years, have I, Jess? So,
Mm.
you know, so everything I say now is not shouldn't be taken as advice, but just opinion. Um, there is absolutely a clinical case for them, and some of the guidance that's been published for the NHS around it's actually quite interesting, and seems like it makes a lot of sense to me anyway, looking
Mm.
at it. Problem is though is that uh, these fat jabs they they create an external change in people without any internal transformation, meaning that as soon as you stop taking the jabs, then obviously you're going to regain the weight, and we're already seeing that. This also gives me concerns about the long-term side effects of these medications. Obviously, people are going to become dependent on them.
Mm.
They're going to become dependent upon them. And what are the long term, like the very long term, sort of 5, 10 year side effects? We don't know that
No.
yet. No, that
We,
data, we don't have that data yet. So,
no.
like a certain other injection that we didn't have in 2021, if you recall, that
Mm.
was my principal reason for us not remaining pure blooded. Um, what are the downstream effects of this, like the far downstream effects of this? And yeah, I don't think that question's been satisfactorily answered with the fat jabs. But what I do know is that they're going to be very popular, and they're going to be very popular among people who don't really need them, who are going to use them much in the same way as we get men who abuse TRT, because it's much easier to take a needle full of substance to affect an external physical change that you would like than it is to actually reflect on your diet, lifestyle, and exercise choices that have resulted in you believing you have that need for that stuff in the first place. So we'll see that again. And the problem with the fat jabs too is it's the veneer of medicalization. Um, sorry, the medical veneer. The veneer of medicalization was a terrible phrase. No, the medical veneer over them gives them legitimacy that is concerning. So with TRT, you get guys and li- you, they're literally taking it because they believe it legitimizes their steroid abuse. It's why they take it. They hit 35. They struggling to put on size or strength in the gym, struggling to keep the body fat down. Yes. Things that I'm experiencing right now as a 35-year-old man.
Yeah.
It's a lot harder for me specifically to maintain leanness. It's a genuine effort. It's certainly not as easy as it was even 2 or 3 years ago. Um, and they're too chicken shit to take steroids. Not that I'm saying not anyone should take steroids, but they've got concerns about that, and they want to. So they get this. They go to a TRT, a private TRT therapist or whatever, who's usually a doctor somewhere in the chain, and they get a script for the drugs, and well, I need it. It's to return my testosterone to its natural levels. What you mean, those of a 20-year-old when you're 35? Yes, that's totally natural.
Mm.
And then they crack on and they do all of that, and it allows them to get the physical changes that they want without actually really changing anything, diet, training, lifestyle wise. We'll see the same with fat jabs. I'm fat, and all of a sudden it becomes a medical problem then because well, you don't need to go. That was a Channel 4 documentary, wasn't it? Was it a Channel 4
Mm.
documentary that we
I think
saw?
it was Channel 4, yeah.
Yeah, and how you get these nurse prescribers and things who will, without second thought, prescribe it to anyone who wants it, even if they're not.
Overweight.
Yeah, even if they're or not significantly overweight enough to need it.
Mm.
Online pharmacies are even worse.
Yeah, you can just lie.
But again, it allows people to maintain congruence or reduce the
Mm.
cognitive dissonance they feel around the fact that they're basically cheating because, oh well, a medical professional says I need this.
Well, it's a
Yeah,
I'm sick and this is my
yeah,
medicine rather
yeah.
than
Well,
I'm
I'm
lazy and I
fat,
need to do
lazy,
something
and
about it.
demotivated, and I can't be asked. It's too much like hard work to actually make some significant changes to the way that I live. Yeah.
I think we saw it a bit when we were younger with the boom of inhalers being doled out. Like I wasn't asthmatic, and I was just a fat kid.
Yeah, I've got to be careful talking about this because obviously not a doctor. But a pill for every ill is something that's been a staple of Western society,
Mm.
certainly for a very long time. Very long time. You go back to like the turn of the century or even the 1800s, there's wild stuff going on. But ultimately, if you offer someone a way to get what they want quickly without any effort on their part on their behalf, apart from maybe spending a bit of money, then they're far more likely to take that than they are the cultivating a more virtuous existence path, aren't they?
Mm. And you can't ignore the cultural factors in that, because if society was at large talking about um, sloth and gluttony generally not being a good thing for society, um, do you think people would be more?
But we need to bring shame back ultimately. Like, and if you're listening to this and you are fat, then that is something that you should be ashamed of, and you should be doing something about it. I'm quite happy to say that. There's no reason for it. And people go, oh well, I've got my medical problems, and it's like, well, people who actually legitimately have medical issues that result in them, physical or mental health problems that are such that they can't train and they've got issues and all that other stuff. They don't get triggered by me when I say this because they know it's like if someone turned around to me and said, "Your wife Jess, she's a slapper. She is like she's been run through by 1,000 men." I'd just go, "Okay, mate,"
Okay, yeah,
because I know
whatever.
it's not true.
Yeah.
Similarly, if I had a profound physical or mental ailment that meant that I wasn't able to train and I was a bit fat, as a result of that, I would someone saying, if you're fat, that's shameful. That would not affect me in any way because I
No.
know I don't need someone to affirm my reality because my reality is reality.
Yeah.
Yeah, I actually had a little bit about that when I was dead poorly with the PTSD. Not long after I crashed out of the ambulance service, I couldn't work there anymore. Couldn't do it anymore. I put on some weight and stuff, and I remember there was a girl I was seeing at the time, and she passed comment about my weight gain and stuff, and I don't feel bad about it. I was like, yeah, because I can't train properly right now. I've got other stuff going on.
Mm.
It's not. It didn't bother me in any way. My dad's a bit like that.
Mm.
He was always very fat, but he was okay with the fact that it was because he was lazy. It's only people who are not bold enough to admit, they haven't got the balls to admit that they're just being lazy.
Yeah, like when I put on a bit of weight in the last ends of my pregnancies, and it always happens. Like it gets to a point where I'm just like, I just got other stuff going on.
Mm.
I'll put it on the back burner, pick it up on the other side. Anyway, I have 4 minutes before I have another call, so
Mm.
wrap it up and we'll.
I'll wrap it up. Only 12 minutes.
Well, sorry, but we'll go crazy again next time.
Fine. Yeah. Well, after that was very short, wasn't it? Bit straggly as well. But hey, what can you do? If you did get through all of this very confusing, strange, conspiratorial episode, like the video, please, and subscribe to the channel. Join all 12 of us. There are 12. I would very much like there to be 13 by the end of the year. That'd be great, wouldn't it? But better than that would be to subscribe to my mailing list, which you can do by typing in the address that's on the screen, philtime.co.uk, into your browser and following the instructions when you arrive there. And yeah, I have nothing else to say then. In that case, next time.